Prick up your ears.
The sound of DTM.
My car sounds like music to my ears.
My favorite sound when the car is leaving the pits.
My favorite sound, the cheering of the fans.
Crank it up. My favorite sound? The silence before the lights go green.
Full blast.
Downshifting from full speed. When I rev up my engine to its absolute limit. Too close to cool. Cheering on the podium.
Be aware.
It's gonna be loud!
Hello and welcome from Budapest. It is race 2 and we are excited as it's all about the championship now. It's going to be a tight race. Here's the man who's leading the championship, Marco Wittmann, 14 points ahead of Edo Matara. However, Edo in the race is in pole and you're in P3. But I bet you have a much better feeling today for the race than yesterday since you improved immensely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, starting yesterday from P10 was clearly more work. Today we're starting P3, so qualifying overall was better. So we hope for a good race. I think still it will be difficult. The Audis are really strong. They were really strong yesterday in the race as well. So it will be not easy, especially 2 Audis are also behind me. So I'm in the sandwich. But I will give my best. I will try. Maybe I can even attack Eki again on the start. Let's see.
All right, well, best of luck for the race. But before we have a look at this race, let's have a look at yesterday's race.
Thanks, Verena. So Marco Wittmann making his case clear. And yesterday, well, he had a lot of work to do, but it was right at the start of the race where he made his intentions well known as they all headed into turn number 1. There was Marco Wittmann diving up the inside of Matthias Ekström. Eduardo Mortara then getting a fantastic start away. Round turn 2, Matthias Ekström ending up pirouetting and going in the wrong direction, assisted into that. Martin Tomczyk involved. But as we continued with the Audi domination, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And Marco Wittmann then running in P7. Robert Wickens having a torrid time of it as he tried to elevate himself into the points. Antonio Felix da Costa and Paul de Resta getting together. And sadly, that was going to mean the retirement of the Paul de Resta car. Damage inflicted upon that car meant that he would take no further part in the race. They were arguing over P18 at the time. So Paul de Resta then out of race 1. Matthias Ekström with the DRS wing in full use, attacking Gary Paffett. And Eduardo Mortara then was beginning to come under a little bit of pressure from Jamie Green, but it was never going to be any more than that. Nico Müller and Adrien Tombe, and again with the DRS assistance, it was not too much trouble for Nico Müller to get past Adrien Tombe. Augusto Farfus and Matthias Ekström were the next to trade a bit of paint, and Matthias really well in the thick of it, and the one that was able to take advantage was the Mercedes-Benz driver, Christian Vittoris. So as the tension mounted inside the garages, it was Eduardo Mortara who would take the checkered flag and take a dominant win from Jamie Green at P2. Miguel Molina was P3, and there was delight for Hans-Jürgen Abt, and just previously, of course, Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich, another supreme display, top 6, all going the way of Audi.
So here I am. This is pole position, Eduardo Mortara, and we're just waiting for him to get here. In the meantime, I mean, what a qualifying. He was having a lot of issues in the qualifying, and only in the last seconds, he can tell us now, he managed to get into pole. Hey Edo, quick question. In the qualifying, I was just explaining, you were having a lot of problems, and then in the very last seconds, I mean, you really managed to grab pole. So, of course, the question being, how nervous were you during the qualifying? But now being in pole, how confident are you to, to ace the race, same as yesterday?
Well, not a lot of problems, but I had my problems, yes, in qualifying. It was not perfect with the first set of tires, and we needed the second one, to be better with the second set of tires. To be better. In the end, we achieved it, and so now, it's going to be a question of doing a good start, and normally we should have, a good pace, good rhythm during the race.
Now, the leader of the championship, Wittmann, is right next to you in P3, but next to you. You seem relaxed.
I'm not. I'm really not. I cannot wait, to stop, this race, to finish very well. It's been a lot of pressure since the beginning of this race weekend. We know that if we want to stay in the game, we have to do everything right, and we have to score, these 50 points this weekend. So we did the first part very well, and now we need to continue with the second part.
Well, best of luck for the race. I certainly don't want to be in your shoes, but I'm sure you're going to do just fine. So back to you, Dave.
Thank you, Verena. Okay, here is the grid, and we've just seen him. Pole position. Eduardo Mortara did it all in qualifying right at the last knockings with Matthias Ekström alongside him. Then we find Marco Wittmann, of course, the championship leader at the moment. He's going from P3, but he's got Jamie Green alongside him and an Audi behind him too in those shape of Miguel Molina, and Maxime Martin then completing that row. As we look at row 4, it's Tom Blomqvist, and a better qualifying from Robert Wickens, who finds himself further up the order than yesterday. Nico Muller and Adrien Tombe then are side by side on row 5 of the grid. Then we find Daniel Juncadella and Antonio Felix da Costa on row number 6. Timo Scheider and Augusto Farfus, P13, P14 there. Timo Glock and Mike Rockefeller share the 8th row of the staggered grid here at the Hungaroring, where Martin Tomczyk and Christian Vitoris go from P17 and P18. Bruno Spengler and Lucas Auer, P19, P20. As we get to the back end of the grid, we find Paul de Resta and Gary Paffett. And bringing up the rear, it is Maximilian Goertz and Felix Rosenquist. Verena now has Matthias Ekström on the grid.
Ecky's just getting ready for the race, but Ecky, just quickly a question. This is your last race in the DTM season because you'd rather try to grab that's a nice picture, because you'd rather try to snatch the Rallycross title. But this is your last race and you're right in between Mortara and Wittmann. So I guess your job is mainly to protect Mortara, but how tough is it going to be?
Yeah, we will see. I want to end the season on a high with a podium, and if I can help Edo, even a bonus.
All right. Best of luck, Ecky. Now it's clear, and now to you.
Yes, clear as mud, that, isn't it? So Matthias Ekström, who could provide a pivotal role then as he is right alongside Eduardo Mortara. And as Verena mentioned there, this will be the last race for Matthias Ekström in season 2016, as he's flying high in the World Rallycross title chase, and is going to be racing in that come Hockenheim mid-October, so will be not on the DTM grid. As we see Tom Blomqvist getting into his car, he's going from P7. Maxime Martin, then the Samsung BMW M4 DTM, goes from P6 on the grid. Reasonable qualifying, to be fair, from Maxime Martin. Of course, back in 2014, when we were last here at the Hungaroring, it was very much a BMW domination, but swung in the favour of Audi for our visit here to the Hungaroring during 2016. What can Maxime Martin do from there? Well, Jens Marquardt will be hoping for very good things. He, of course, is the boss of BMW Motorsport, talking there to Ingo Leibrink. And there is Miguel Molina, the Audi driver, who's going from P5. And there, the inside of his DTM car, as he just focuses on what he needs to achieve and what he can do during the course of the longer race to come this afternoon, of course, with the mandatory pit stop. So DTM race 2 races over any given DTM race weekend. Race is not far away. The Hungaroring circuit, some 4.381 kilometers, 14 turns, and Mortara, Ekstrom, Wittmann, Green, the first 2 rows of the grid. And then the rest of the order, as you can see on screen, ready to do battle on this very undulating and recently resurfaced Hungaroring circuit, which is a real challenge for the drivers. Lots of uphill and downhill sections, and there is Dieter Gas then, the head of motorsport at Audi, and their DTM concern. Saving the final handshake for Eduardo Mortara from pole position. Jamie Green goes from P4. And there, the Brit driver, you can see final adjustments being made to his Audi. And there is the head of Edo Mortara's team, Abt. It is Mr. Hans-Jürgen Abt making his way back down the pit lane. Marco Wittmann then goes from P3, a phenomenal qualifying when compared with what he was able to achieve yesterday. And of course, he does go into the race on 176 points at the top. And Marco Wittmann's boss is Jens Marquardt, who's with Verena now.
You certainly managed to break the Audi dominance from yesterday. You've got Wittmann in P3, which is a great position. However, Mortara's in front. So my question is, do you have an ace up your sleeve to get him past Mortara, or is it mainly the main aim to do the race safe?
Well, no. I mean, obviously we have to fight. We're in a better position compared to yesterday, but just a little better. And we still have Tom and Maxime there as well in the top 10. So the clear goal is move up forward and see. But obviously we need to get through the first turn clearly, without any issues with all the cars, so we'll have a look.
All right, well, best of luck, Jens Marquardt. Thank you. Back to you, Dave.
Thank you, Verena. There was a little allude there, wasn't there? Let's get through turn 1 cleanly with no problems. That will be this man's aim as well. Eduardo Mortara, of course, has given himself the best possible starting position by doing it all in the final stages of qualifying to put the car on pole position. Of course, he was on the top step of the podium yesterday, along with Jamie Green and Miguel Molina. And there the packed grandstands, as you can see here. And there, confirmation of the Drivers' Championship then. It's Marco Wittmann who heads it on 176 points, but that margin has really been reduced by Eduardo Mortara following his win yesterday. And Jamie Green is still in the chase as well on 137 points. Robert Wickens, sadly, seeing his opportunities ebb away now. So Dieter Gas then must be delighted with the performance of everyone across the weekend. He's with Verena.
Oh, I'm sure. Now, yesterday you had a superb day, Audi dominance. Today, almost as excellent, except you've got the leader of the championship, Marco Wittmann, in P3. However, he is sandwiched by Audis. So what do you think are we going to see today in the race? Obviously, the start is going to be important. Do you think we're going to see a clean start?
I hope so, yeah, you always do, because, I mean, we are in a very good position there with 4 cars in the top 5. That means we need to focus on getting a clear getaway, a good first lap, and then I hope that in race pace we may get past Marco Wittmann. I hope. We'll see, but I hope in general we have a clean race.
Only 3 more races, that means it's going to get super tight today, and very exciting race, I bet.
Yeah, I think we have already seen a very exciting qualifying session today. It was very, very tight, and now obviously the tension is growing up until the last race. I'm glad that the championship is open, and we try to improve on that furthermore.
Best of luck, Dieter Gas. It is getting tense here as well, as we need to clear the racetrack. So back to you, Dave.
Thanks, Verena. Good luck getting off that grid. And thanks for all your hard work, as always, as we zoom in now on the Marco Wittmann car going from P3 on the grid. Well, a fascinating race in prospect as the championship all tightens up now. And, well, going into this race and then the final 2 races to come mid-October in Hockenheim. It's all set for a tense finish, and that's exactly what we like. So the grid is being cleared, then the cars will be released on their formation lap, and then the 60-minute race, including the mandatory pit stop, will be underway. There is Jens Marquardt making his way back to the BMW garages. Uli Fritz for Mercedes-Benz, and Dieter Gas for Audi will be doing the same. So just a couple of seconds left then, as you can see, before we get the green light and the engine note rises and the cars roar away from the starting grid. Right in front of us here at the Hungaroring circuit. We are about 35 minutes away from central Budapest. And this is the race 2 for DTM across this weekend, about to get underway. Thousands of race fans here to enjoy the action as the cars make their way through turn number 1 and head down towards what is now turn number 2, which was the scene of much action in the race yesterday. The cars are rolling downhill now before going into the right-hander, which is turn number 3, which follows this. And there you can see all the baseball caps are on and supporting whichever manufacturer they do before they start to climb once again, heading towards turn number 4. The grid once again in graphics for you on screen. Mortara, Ekstrom, Wittmann, Green, Molina, Martin, Blomqvist and Wickens occupying the first 8 places, with Muller, Tombe, Juncker, Deyer, Felix da Costa, Scheider, Farfus, Glock and Rockenfeller on the next 4 rows, before we get to the final third of the grid, which contains Tomczyk, Vitoris, Spengler, Auer, De Resta, Paffett, Gertz and Felix Rosenquist as we ride on board with our pole sitter Eduardo Mortara then. So he makes his way up through this undulating track here at Hungaroring. It's a fantastic shot as they make their way. It's downhill from turn 11 into turn 12, which is where they head right now. The lap record was set in 2014 by Nico Muller, the 1:37.556 track, 4.38 kilometers long. Around turn 13 is where Edo Mortara heads now. You can take various lines through that turn because it's slightly banked, and then climbing uphill towards turn number 14. Which is where you can see the pit in to the right of your picture there. And that is the Eduardo Mortara car starting from pole position. So into the garage as we go as the tension begins to mount. Dieter Gas and Wolfgang Ulrich there for Audi, with Hans-Jürgen Abt then, of course, responsible for Eduardo Mortara out there on track. We'll hear him being guided into his grid box.
Go, 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 go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop.
Marco Wittmann already parked into his. So Jens Marquardt there with Stefan Reinhold to his left-hand side in the BMW garage. And there is Uli Fritz, who knows he has a lot of work to do as Mercedes-Benz cars.
Car going out to the grid box, and the green flag is out. Good luck.
Mercedes cars very heavy here at the Hungaroring. Okay, so the final car into the grid box, which means that the start sequence can be got underway. Just see some smoke coming out of the Eduardo Mortara car there, and cars are being sent away on an extra formation lap. The reason for that yet is not 100% clear.
Easy on brakes, easy on brakes. I know, I saw.
So cars being sent away on an extra formation lap, being told Robert Wickens was in the wrong position. Okay. So on board with Robert Wickens then, you can see Uli Fritz and the look of anxiety there with Oliver Kapfenstein right behind him. So Eduardo Mortara has to do the formation lap all over again. It's somewhat add to the tension, as Verena said to him right at the start of the race. How you feeling? You look really calm, cool and collected. And he said, far from it. Well, this certainly won't help his preps. On board with Marco Wittmann then, the championship leader. And there you can see there was a clear mistake there in terms of the lineup of the cars on the grid. And here's
we need to start from the last grid position. We need to start from the last grid position.
So Robert Wickens now being told is going to be sent to the back of the grid. And it was his mistake, it would appear. Uli Fritz then.
Negative. You need to start from the last grid position.
So right to the back of the grid goes Robert Wickens, which will see any
No one's overtaking me.
faint hopes he had of championship challenge go away now. So Robert Wickens then takes an immediate penalty and goes to the back of the grid for causing that extra formation lap.
4, 3, 2, 1, stop.
So Mortara into his grid position. Bear in mind that Robert Wickens was, relative to yesterday, advantageously placed in grid position 8, which is not what he occupied on the grid. Therefore, he's been penalised. He's been sent to the back of the grid. And as I said, that means that any mathematical chance of his championship charge has just about been thrown away.
Five approaching now, and the green flag is also black.
Okay, green flag from the marshal at the rear. Hopefully this time the start sequence will be absolutely pinpoint perfect, because every car is in the right place. The lights are on. The lights are out, and Eduardo Mortara and Matthias Ekström get away well. So too does Marco Wittmann. And Wittmann, look, already on the side of Eduardo Mortara. Matthias Ekström and Wittmann and Jamie Green collide together. So Eki goes through into P1. At the moment, Eduardo Mortara is P2. They were going 4 abreast into turn number 1, and Marco Wittmann is being hung out to dry. Edo Mortara has got a puncture. We can hear that on the live team radio. Well, the drama starts right at the very start of the race. Jamie Green, look, is well off into the runoff area. Robert Wickens is passing 5, 6, 7 cars. So Matthias Ekström leads at the moment, and up into P3 is Daniel Juncker-Deher. So Mortara down to P4 with a puncture. We think Marco Wittmann is about to overtake him through the chicane. Certainly going to try to, as Marco Wittmann tries to make his way back up the order. He was really pummeled right at the very start. So Mortara then with an ailing Audi is trying his level best to hold on Marco Wittmann. It's all futile though, because he's going to have to go into the pit lane. And Wittmann does at last go through, and Mortara, what a disaster.
Okay, we are ready for pit.
And there you can see Mortara's
Contact from left and right.
trying to nurse that car. Wittmann checking out everything on his car at the same time. Apologies for any colourful language, but the team radio is all live.
Yes, copy that. Mortara has a slow puncture.
Here comes Eduardo Mortara in then. And look, you can see. And he's also going to be given the black and white flag for pushing another car. Jamie Green is another driver that's got to come in as well. So here is Edo.
Clear, go.
Well, they were quick with him, to be fair, the AB team. And here's Jamie Green now, and the Rosberg team set to work on his car, and it's nothing like as quick. So Edo rejoins, and Jamie Green is now being released or not being released. Now Jamie Green, of course, going into this race, P3 in the championship, and it's a retirement for Jamie Green. So, back to the race, and we have Matthias Ekström leading. Adrian Tombe is P2, and both of them are ahead of Daniel Juncker-Deher, who is P3. Marco Wittmann now is P4. Now...
So your splitter looks damaged, but sector times are good.
So Marco Wittmann then running potentially with a damaged...
Mortara had a puncture and had to stop, so continue and collect points.
Well, there we have it. Damaged splitter or not, his sector times are okay, and Marco feels happy. Here's a replay of the start then. So Eki was the one that got a brilliant start, so did Wittmann, and Eduardo Mortara, not such a brilliant start, and then caught the corner of Marco Wittmann's car. Jamie Green and Wittmann absolutely together there. Then it was 3, nearly 4 abreast because Molina was in that pack as well. He gets turfed out to the edge.
At the moment you have 5 BMWs behind you.
Let's see it from on board with Marco Wittmann then, and in fairness, does look like he was pushed towards the grass there a little bit, and then hasn't to hold on for all he can and use an opposite lock to try and control that car as he has Maxime Martin alongside him, and he's really in that Green and Martin sandwich there. Jamie Green just getting ahead of the Marco Wittmann melee in that, and that's where Edo Mortara just really didn't get away. In the initial start was fine. It was then in the second part of it where Marco Wittmann had done a fantastic job, but then he had to fend off all the damage that was coming his way as well. The one that said before the start of the race that he wanted to finish on a high was Matthias Ekstrom, and he got a perfect start and found himself in the lead. Right, Jamie Green is under investigation for exceeding the pit lane speed limit, and that was the turn 1 incident which really changed the shape of this race. Let's see it from on board from Matthias Ekstrom's splitter cam then. Absolutely perfect start from his viewpoint, because he goes into turn 1 while all heck is breaking out behind him, untroubled. So now it's all settled down a little bit. It is Matthias Ekstrom that's leading from Adrien Tombe, Daniel Juncadella and Marco Wittmann, with Maxime Martin, Antonio Felix da Costa, Tom Blomqvist, Timo Glock, Martin Tomczyk and Mike Rockenfeller rounding out the top 10 at the moment. And Matthias Ekstrom running at 1:37.614, a clear 10th ahead of Tombe at the moment, and both of them now beginning to pull away from Daniel Juncadella, who is running in P3. Jamie Green is a sad early retirement, and Verena, well done, she's got hold of him already.
Jamie, that start was an absolute disaster, obviously, for you, because you were right in the mingle in between. From your point of view, could it have been prevented, or was it racing? I mean, it ended your race.
Yeah, it ended my race. I think I got a puncture and some other damage. I mean, my start was good, actually, so I was ahead of Edo and side by side and slightly ahead of Wittmann, and I think I need to see the video, but I think Wittmann just hit me from the side, and then that broke my car. So, you know, I would have been probably second after turn 1 with the start I made, so it was looking quite good, and then, yeah, nothing more I can do.
Well, apparently Wittmann got hit by Mortara, and that's kind of what happened, but it's not going to help you now since your race is over, right?
Yeah, like I said, I need to look at the video to really understand how it happened. But yeah, it's a shame because when you make a good start, you know, you can go forward, and that's what I was looking to do. And the contacts ended my race, so you know, I'm really frustrated.
Of course you are. Thank you very much, Jamie, and back to you, Dave.
Well done, Verena, for getting hold of Jamie so very quickly. Of course, he's frustrated and really, really disappointed. Marco Wittmann, then, is the car that we're looking at now. We know the car has sustained some slight damage, but it doesn't appear to be affecting its pace too badly at the moment. Currently running in P4 with a string of BMWs behind to actually protect that P4 position of Marco Wittmann at the moment, because behind him he's got Maxime Martin, Antonio Felix da Costa, Tom Blomqvist, Timo Glock, Martin Tomczyk, before we get back to another Audi, which is Mike Rockenfeller completing the top 10 there. You can just see the car center screen. Behind is Timo Scheider, and then Bruno Spengler occupying places 11 and 12. In the meantime, Robert Wickens is P14. So, here is Eduardo Mortara, who of course is trying to make his way back following the enforced pit stop for that slow puncture repair. Currently running in P21. Just going to have a look at Mortara's times. 1:39.843. So that car is clearly still not running well, and clear 2 seconds behind the front-running drivers. Mortara's going to be hard pushed to do anything with that car, I would suggest. So into turn 1 they go. There is Bruno Spengler, who's currently running in P12, being chased down by Paul Di Resta in the Mercedes-Benz, who's running in P13. Of course, was retirement in yesterday's race. There's the all-yellow machine of Timo Glock running in P8 at the moment with Tom Blomqvist ahead and Martin Tomczyk behind. The car of Timo Scheider just out of the points at the moment in P11. And let's take a look again at this start and try and piece everything together. So it was the second stage of the start when Mortara had problems. Eki most certainly did not. And Marco Wittmann then goes to the outside, and there you can see it quite clearly that Eduardo Mortara decides to move to the outside. And that really, after contact with Mortara, flung Marco Wittmann into the path of Jamie Green. There you can see Eduardo trying to block that move. And then around he goes into the side of Jamie Green. I mean, both the drivers did so very well to actually control it at that point. Then they went 4 abreast with Martin and Molina joining that party as they tried to go into turn number 1. Inevitably, there was always going to be some rubbing between them. On board here with Marco Wittmann. Just look how he's having a fight with the steering wheel and looking every way he possibly can, and that's where he dials on that opposite lock to try and control the slide that has been pushed into by Edo Mortara. Tombay then running in P2 and is actually matching Matthias Ekström's pace at the moment. Tombay on for it. Well, this is his best performance in DTM race in 2016, that's for sure. Here comes Marco Wittmann, and our championship prediction, if it stays the way it is, it'll be Wittmann on 188 points and Edo Mortara on 162. It's going to be a fraught fight at Hockenheim when we go there in the middle of October, that's for sure. That, of course, is if it stays the way it does currently, with Matthias Ekström leading, Adrien Tombay P2, Daniel Juncadella in P3, and Marco Wittmann is P4. So there you can see Daniel Juncadella is some 3.2 seconds down on Adrien Tombay, and Marco Wittmann some 3.3 down on Juncadella. But in fairness, if Wittmann with a car that we think is perhaps slightly damaged can maintain that position in P4, of course, is banking some very valuable points, and particularly when Edo Mortara is running down there in P21 and well out of any points earning opportunities. Augusto Farfus in the pit lane. We know we've lost Jamie Green. Also having visited the pit lane, of course, Eduardo Mortara and Nico Müller as well. So a brace of BMWs before we see Mike Rockenfeller, who's in the final points paying position at the moment in P10. And Ekström and Tombay. As we look at Timo Glock, who is 8 places away from that leading car of Matthias Ekström, and some 12.2 seconds. That's how quick Eki and Tombay are as the cars go through the turn 6 and 7 chicane here at the Hungaroring. Mike Rockenfeller not able to seemingly get on terms with Martin Tomczyk, who's running ahead of him. Margin there is 7/10 between the two, as you can see on screen, between P9 and P10. There's Bruno Spengler, Paul de Resta, and Robert Wickens. So Robert's disastrous start. And now Marco Wittmann under investigation for pushing another car. Well, as the story pans out, it's far from all over yet. So we stay on board with Robert Wickens doing all he can. And of course, all of it, fairness for him to be in a position of P14, given that he had to start right at the very back of the pack, is extremely creditable. Robert Wickens on board black and white flag going to be shown to Marco Wittmann for pushing another car. So uphill section into that turn the cars run. Do bear in mind, whilst Matthias Ekström leads this race, 9/10 over Adrien Tombe. Said he wanted to go out on a high. There is Daniel Juncadella, who's really broken away from Marco Wittmann now. I wonder if Wittmann is just beginning to suffer a bit with the car, because he was a full... it was 137.793 for Juncadella last time around. It was a 138.252 for Marco Wittmann. So as he rounds turn 14, the race leader, Matthias Ekström, heading towards the timing beam now, followed closely by Adrien Tombe, and those two really have broken away from Daniel Juncadella. Oh, what a super shot that is of our race-leading Audi of Matthias Ekström, who of course announced this weekend that he'll be missing the final round of DTM to focus on trying to win the Rallycross title. In an Audi, of course. We're on board with Eduardo Mortara, whose lap times are just a shade under 139, so the car really not performing at all well, and he's running in position 21 at the moment, so a long, long way away from any points haul. Altogether sure that the car will do the race distance now. What have we got? Some 41.5 minutes left of the race to be done. And Eduardo Mortara then caught up in the early lap excursions with a slow puncher, having to come in and have that sorted. And that has put him back to P21. And there you can see a difference in lap times between himself and Marco Wittmann. And Marco Wittmann is far from the quickest driver out there at the moment in any event, because the three cars ahead of Wittmann are all in the 137s, and Wittmann running in the low 138s at the moment. So we watch the Marco Wittmann car as the drivers prepare themselves for the mandatory pit stops. So too do the crews that have to engineer those pit stops, and actually can really, really make the difference when it comes to this longer DTM race. The difference was proved at Nürburgring, where Eduardo Mortara was left out. Sedo was left out for a long, long time, and
Pace is good to compare to the 10 cars in front of you.
In the pit window opens, they left him out for a long, long time, and that worked perfectly for them at the Nürburgring. But we're at the Hungaroring now, where things are altogether different, because it's Matthias Ekström with that fantastic splitter cam onboard shot that we can show you now, that he's leading this race. Through the chicane he goes, taking plenty of curb, both through the chicane and on the exit as well.
What's the lane run? Which lane?
The maximum you can.
So completely live team radio. Downhill now.
Which space they're running?
Leaders are 37.5, 37.8.
Exactly right, 37.5 for Matthias Ekström, 37.8 for Adrien Tombe.
This is guys going for me.
Race leaders going through turn number 14. Exiting that now. Here comes Marco Wittmann then, who is running in P4. This is 138.213, and Ekström and Tombe ahead, a second quicker. So Wittmann then doing what he can, is not going to be troubled from behind, because he has Maxime Martin. There you can see some of the bodywork damage to that car that's currently running in the P4 position. Marco Wittmann doing the best that he can with a car that is less than perfect out there aerodynamically. With that string of BMWs behind him, he's not really going to be too troubled, but what he's not going to be able to do is encroach upon what Daniel Juncker-Deher, Adrien Tombe and Matthias Ekström were able to do ahead of him. As it is that Juncker-Deher is a clear 4/10ths down on the pace of Ekström and Tombe at the front of the pack at the moment. So those two Audis really dominant in P1 and P2. So you don't see too often. That's the two Muka cars absolutely together. Christian Vitoris and Lucas Auer running in P15 and 16 at the moment, but this is our race leader, Matthias Ekström then. Who's very nearly 2 seconds ahead of Adrien Tombe, who in turn is 4 seconds ahead of Daniel Juncker-Deher. So Matthias Ekström then survived the opening lap skirmishes and just headed away up the road with no problems at all, and Adrien Tombe was able to come through the mire as well. Okay, so Team RBM then are preparing to bring Maxime Martin in from P5. Antonio Felix da Costa, there's Tom Blomqvist, and in comes Mike Rockenfeller. We run the clock on the times, 3 seconds. We've seen better, but we've seen a lot worse as well. Out goes Antonio Felix da Costa, so too Tom Blomqvist. And also in now is Robert Wickens from P16. And floors it on his way out of the pit lane. In comes Eduardo Mortara, second trip into the pit lane for him, but this the mandatory one, of course. The earlier stop was to replace that punctured tyre. And barring any massive occurrences during the course of the race, Eduardo Mortara is going to be extremely hard pushed to glean any points from this race, of which we have some 36 minutes left. So Eduardo Mortara makes his way back out. Those that have stopped then, Antonio Felix da Costa, Tom Blomqvist, Mike Rockenfeller, Robert Wickens, and Eduardo Mortara. Matthias Ekström, Adrien Tombe, and Daniel Juncker-Deher all staying out. Also staying out too is Marco Wittmann. So the P symbol on the left-hand side of your graphics indicating those drivers that have made their mandatory pit stops. So Eki then in a class of his own at the moment, lapping in the 137.412. Last time around it was a 137.823 for Adrien Tombe. Those two, the only drivers that are lapping in the 137s. Everyone else is in the 138s, including Marco Wittmann, 138.333 last time around. So interestingly though, Martin is slightly slower behind him, but Glock is 138.062, so pulling away from Martin Tomczyk a little bit, and Timo Scheider not able to break into the 137s and replicate the pace shown by the two Audis that are leading the race, those of Matthias Ekström and Adrien Tombe. So there is Timo Scheider. And there in P4, our championship leader, Marco Wittmann. So in any event, the way things are at the moment, set aside our championship prediction, it's going to go to Hockenheim, which is, of course, exactly what we want. It's the man that's leading the race. This man, Matthias Ekström, won't be there. Force the throttle. This is a brilliant shot to see the master at work, if you like, in going through turn 2 now. There's Adrien Tombe and Daniel Juncker-Deher. Those three escaping very much from the damages being inflicted right at the start of the race. Ekström with some 2.6 seconds on Adrien Tombe as we take some replays here of the car that's running in P3. The Reyes liveried Mercedes of Daniel Juncker-Deher. if it stays the way it does, it will be Daniel Junkerdea's best finish in the season. His first podium too. So focus on Matthias Ekström then as he leads this race ahead of Adrien Tambay, then running in P2. It will certainly be Tambay's best finish as well. He has had a P6 yesterday and a P7 before it. It was at the Norris Ring, but P2 for Adrien Tambay at the moment, but there's still a long way to go yet as Matthias Ekström stays out. So too does Adrien Tambay. And over the crest they come, the downhill section now into turn number 1, which was the scene of so much action right at the start of this race. And Junkerdea choosing to stay out as well, a full 7 seconds behind Adrien Tambay, because once again those two Audis still consistently lapping in the 37s. Interestingly, Tambay was a couple of tenths quicker than Ekström last time. Here comes Maxime Martin then in from P6. RBM team standing by for him. We run the clock. Confident stop for Maxime Martin then. Going to come out between Blomqvist and Rocky. So we add him to the list of those that have pitted. Those that haven't are the top 14, being led by Matthias Ekström. So there is Maxime Martin having returned. Mike Rockefeller right on his tail. Martin now with just a lap or so fresher rubber than Mike Rockefeller, who has also stopped. And Martin Tomczyk then behind them. So they round the turn 13, head into turn number 14 now. Antonio Felix da Costa having got past Molina. Out then in a flurry of sideways tyre smoke goes Felix Rosenqvist. As we see Robert Wickens to the right-hand side of our screen coming down into turn number 1. Here comes Felix Rosenqvist. He too has stopped now. And the man that made his debut midway through the DTM season, replacing Esteban Ocon, is back out on track. So will Ekström come in this time? No, he won't. Will Tambay come in this time? No, he won't. So the two Audis with really, really superior pace. Though, interestingly, of those that have stopped, Tom Blomqvist is lapping in the 137s. So too Antonio Felix da Costa. And it looks like they're standing by for Marco Wittmann. It's going to be another lap yet before Marco Wittmann comes in, because he's down the start-finish straight now, heading into turn number 1. Still some 6.2 seconds down on Daniel Junkerdea. Just over half distance in the race. So there is Marco Wittmann, and you can see Timo Glock some 3.7 seconds behind this Marco Wittmann car, which we know sustained damage. We can see that at the rear of the car and some damage on the front splitter as well, but seemingly being able to drive through that and drive through the issues that has provoked in the car. Still see the sparks flying. And P4, well, given Eduardo Mortara running down there in P21. Take a look at Adrien Tombe and Daniel Juncadella running P2 and P3. Debris in the front of the Daniel Juncadella car. So Ekstrom stays out, so too does Tombe. Do we see Marco Wittmann come in on this occasion? Well, we've seen Daniel Juncadella go through, so Wittmann does pit. Thought the team were preparing for it, so he slows right down to observe the pit lane speed limit.
It will be tight with Blomqvist at the pit exit, but you should come out within BMWs.
So already predicting that it's going to be tight with Blomqvist. That was a stunning stop, 2.9 seconds. Well done, guys. So there's Antonio Felix da Costa. And not presented with too many problems from Tom Blomqvist. So Wittmann, Antonio Felix da Costa isn't going to be a problem to him either, I wouldn't have thought. So Tom Blomqvist really allowed Marco Wittmann to rejoin ahead of him because they were so very close together. There's Antonio Felix da Costa, who won't be too stoic in his defence when Marco Wittmann gets on him. Wittmann now on fresh tyres, of course. Antonio Felix da Costa has already stopped and was lapping really quickly, and the RMG team pretty happy with their performance, and rightly so, they should be too. Ekstrom, Tombe, Juncadella still to stop, of course. So momentarily Timo Glock is up into P4. There's Mike Rockenfeller. And now in comes Daniel Juncadella from his P3 position. Need a very good stop from the HWA team for Daniel Juncadella. And it's not a good one at all. 4.5 seconds is not good. So here comes Daniel Juncadella then. Where's he going to come out? Antonio Felix da Costa, as you can see from the graphics on the right-hand side of your screen, is on his way down the start-finish straight now, but Daniel Juncadella had enough of a margin to be able to stay ahead, but it wasn't a blistering stop from HWA at all. In the meantime, there's Timo Glock, Maxime Martin, Mike Rockenfeller on Miguel Molina, and also going through is Martin Tomczyk. Molina of the one of those is yet to stop. And amongst that gaggle. And Tomczyk really now piling the pressure on Mike Rockenfeller ahead. So Martin Tomczyk there in the BMW, Mike Rockenfeller in the Schaeffler liveried Audi. Beginning to feel the pressure of the BMW driver behind him, because for every wheel track Rockenfeller makes, Tomczyk is thereabouts. So the order at the moment, prior to everyone having stopped, those that haven't stopped are Ekstrom, Tombe, Scheider, Spengler, De Resta, Vitoris, Auer, Paffett, Goetz, and Molina. The order is Ekstrom, Tombe, Scheider at the moment, but we're watching this battle continue. Mike Rockenfeller seeing off the charge from Martin Tomczyk now. So Timo Glock, Maxime Martin, and then the Mike Rockenfeller car. Molina has now pitted, as you can see from the P indication, against Molina's number 17 car. top 9 that are yet to pit. We've lost Muller, Farfus and Green in the first half of the race. And Martin Tomczyk is chasing down Mike Rockenfeller. There is Marco Wittmann then, who's got away from Tom Blomqvist, and in now comes Adrien Tombe from P2. So Adrien Tombe then making his way down the pit lane. And the Rosberg team ready to receive him. We run the clock, 2.5 seconds. Whew. Be out well ahead of Daniel Juncadella. Not going to be troubled there at all. So here comes Adrien Tombe, having completed his mandatory pit stop. Yet to stop is Matthias Ekström. So 2.5 seconds from the team for Tombe was a very, very good one indeed. Adrien Tombe, the best race that we've seen. Mike Rockenfeller asking for gaps. And there is Daniel Juncadella then. Of course, has come back out in traffic. He's got Maximilian Gertz behind him. And ahead he's got Gary Paffett, Lucas Au and Christian Vittoris, so isn't going to be held up by those. This is Eduardo Mortara, who is languishing down there in plumb last place at the moment with his ailing car, which is running in the mid-138s at the moment. There are slower cars out there, to be fair now, so Mortara, with the benefit of fresher rubber, has picked up the pace a bit with that ailing car, but still nothing like close to being able to fight his way into a points-paying position. So Matthias Ekström leaving it to the very, very last minute before he comes in for his pit stop. So too Bruno Spengler, Christian Vittoris, Lucas Au and Maximilian Gertz, all still to pit at the moment. Eki doing a jolly good job out there. Still lapping in the 138, very, very low 138s, 138.027. Some of those, many of those that have stopped doing it in the 137s now. Here comes Bruno Spengler. So the MTech team standing by to receive Bruno Spengler into the box. And we've got 20 minutes and 15 seconds of the race remaining. Good stop there from the team. 2.8 seconds for Bruno Spengler. He is going to be out just ahead of Felix Rosenqvist, or as Rosenqvist, no, he's got the momentum, he's going to get past. So Bruno Spengler then will have Paul de Resta for company, breathing down his neck any moment now.
Box, this lap, confirm.
Okay, so Eki coming in this lap. So Matthias Ekström and the ABT team standing by to receive him. He will dive into pit in now. This is brilliant. We stay with the splitter cam. You watch as he slows now.
Car in pit lane, car in pit lane.
Brings the car down to the speed regulated pit lane limit. You can see Adrien Tombe on the graphic is just about to go around turn number 13. Whoa, and a slight problem with that front one, which was slow to come off, but even so, a 2.4 time for the AB team for...
Timo and Adrian on start finish. Timo approaching turn 1 now.
So, very, very good time.
Go ahead of Timo, and then he has DRS the next lap.
So Timo Scheider is nominally leading, but of course he's yet to stop. Matthias Ekström out ahead of Adrien Tombe. So it's worked well for Ekström and for Tombe. They will bring Scheider in this time around. Phoenix team. we will see. So on board with Matthias Ekström then. Those still to pit, Timo Scheider, as I mentioned, Christian Vitoris, Lucas Auer, Gary Paffett and Maximilian Gertz. So Matthias then on Timo Scheider. Both of whom have competed in Rallycross. Timo Scheider having a guest go. Matthias Ekström, though, season-long campaign, which is why he misses the next round of DTM at Hockenheim. As they round turn 14 and head for the start-finish straight. Timo Scheider still not having come in. Matthias Ekström looks to the inside, but isn't quite close enough to Timo Scheider to go through on the start-finish straight. Into turn 1 they go. In, though, is Lucas Auer in the Mucke number 22 car. .9 seconds for Lucas Auer as he floors the accelerator and sideways out of his grid box and heads towards the end of the pit lane for Lucas Auer, who returns behind the Paul de Resta car. So there is Lucas Auer back out on track again for the remaining 16.5 minutes of the race. Eki right on Timo Scheider now, and Adrien Tombe is 1.3 seconds behind Matthias Ekström. Timo Scheider yet to stop, though, for the Phoenix team. So into turn at number 13. Scheider comes in now, so lead resumes in the hands of Matthias Ekström. In comes Timo Scheider. Put in some blistering laps whilst he's been out on his own, truthfully. Christian Vitoris following in the second of the Mucke Motorsport Mercedes-Benz cars that you can see at the back of your picture. So in comes Timo Scheider. 2.7 seconds, very good. What can Mucke do here for Christian Vitoris? We'll run the clock. Identical time of 2.7 seconds. So Scheider now going to be ahead or behind Mike Rockenfeller, going to be behind and ahead of Martin Tomczyk. So Scheider fields back out onto track. And the only one now left to pit is Gary Paffett. And we have the way it looks for the remaining 15 minutes or so of this DTM race here at the Hungaroring. Matthias Ekström leading, said to Verena right at the very start of the race, given that he will miss the two races at Hockenheim, he wants to go out on a high. Well, there's no higher than P1, and that's where he is currently. Adrien Tombe is P2. That will be a phenomenal finish for Adrien Tombe. And Daniel Juncadella for Mercedes-Benz doing a great job in P3. Gary Paffett nominally being shown as P4 at the moment, but do bear in mind he's yet to stop. So it's Antonio Felix da Costa before Marco Wittmann, but of course there'll be no heavy defense from Antonio Felix da Costa ahead of Marco Wittmann. Indeed, Antonio announcing this is final season in DTM. Race leader, though, Matthias Ekström then. The Audi pace here at the Hungaroring has been phenomenal. Paffett comes into the pit lane now, and the final one of those to take his mandatory pit stop. And the race order is Ekström, Tombe, Juncadella, da Costa, Wittmann, Blomqvist, Glock, Martin, Scheider, and Mike Rockenfeller rounding out the top 10. So faultless every corner, Matthias Ekström doing a great job out there. 2.6 second margin he has over Adrian Tombe, and the two of them are, well, to Ekström it's 11.8 seconds back to Yunkadea. From Tombe it's 9.1, so a phenomenal pace that they've got over the Mercedes-Benz, running in P3. So Ekström completes another lap and goes past our commentary position, as now does Adrian Tombe. In the meantime, Marco Wittmann has found his way past Antonio Felix da Costa. Quelle surprise. So finds himself back as he was in P4. But a very, very long way back from Daniel Yunkadea, with just under 12 minutes remaining. It's an almost impossible task for Marco Wittmann to get on terms with Daniel Yunkadea, so this is how he passed Antonio Felix da Costa, without too much issue. Going into turn number 12, which is not renowned for an overtaking place here at the Hungaroring, but nonetheless, he's done it, and going to bank some very good points for P4, whereas Eduardo Mortara, of course, won't. Championship prediction then, if it stays the way it does now, 188 to Marco Wittmann, 162 to Eduardo Mortara, Jamie Green on 137 and Robert Wickens on 121. So the fight is going to be between Wittmann and Mortara, with, of course, after this race, 50 points up for grabs at Hockenheim. Hans-Jürgen Abt then knows that his driver is languishing down there in P21. There he is. Hope of a points finish for him are really, really very, very distant indeed. Antonio Felix da Costa then running in P5. And Marco Wittmann in that P4 position. So, there the order on screen for you. Ekström, Tombe, Yunkadea, Wittmann, Felix da Costa, Blomqvist, Glock, and Maxime Martin. Wittmann very well protected from behind. He's not going to get any challenges. Equally, is never going to have the pace to get in touch with Daniel Yunkadea. So, barring any disaster for Yunkadea, who's lapping on a similar pace to Tombe, it's a 137.750. Compare that to Marco Wittmann, whose last lap was a 137.965, so a couple of tenths quicker. In the meantime, this is Timo Scheider on Maxime Martin, fighting over the P8, P9 positions. And Mike Rockenfeller lurking behind in the final points paying place at the moment. P10 as they go through the turn 6 and 7 chicane. So Maxime Martin for BMW. Timo Scheider for Audi. Maxime Martin has had a couple of podiums this season. Timo Scheider has not. Well, both of them are a long way away from a podium place in this race as well. Particularly the way it looks at the moment, with Ekström now 3.2 seconds ahead of Adrian Tombe. There, the gap between Martin and Timo Scheider as they head into turn number 1. Maxime Martin protects the inside line. Scheider is forced to go outside. Will he try and switch back now? Hasn't got the momentum, hasn't quite got the pace. He can get right alongside Maxime Martin now, but he's going to be in the wrong place for the next turn. But if he can stick with it and remain committed, he'd be in the right one for the next one, but he's not able to do so because you're running downhill there, the car trying to pull away from you. So, valiant effort by Timo Scheider, who once again just moves outside the air that's coming off the back of the BMW to try and move up into P8. Through the chicane they go. Rockenfeller lurking behind in P10. Maxime Martin, though, making the BMW maintain that P8 position currently, despite all the attention of Timo Scheider, who, of course, will have DRS available, which Maxime Martin will not have, which gives the Audi, which we already think is pace advantaged here at Hungaroring, an even better opportunity. Okay, here comes take two then, as they head into turn number 1. Can Timo Scheider do it on this occasion? So uphill and now downhill they go. The rear wing comes back up, and Scheider was not able to do it on this occasion either. Maxime Martin able once again to defend that P8 position. Sneaky look at the inside there from Timo. Whatever Timo throws at Maxime Martin at the moment, he's able to defend it. See how close they are now. Maxime running just a little bit wide there, allowing Timo Scheider to get ever closer through. Turn 6 and 7 they go, and heading towards turn number 8, the left-hander. Here comes Matthias Ekström. 3.5 seconds to the good over Adrien Tombe at the moment. And let's see what it is this time around. We'll give you the live gap between the two of them. It's increased it by further 0.3 to 3.821. So Matthias Ekström having no problems out front at all. 5 3/4 minutes left in the race. And a super slow-mo replay of Matthias Ekström then, the master at work in that Audi today. That's for sure. He's had a real mixed bag of a season. But he is going to do as he wanted, and that is finish the season for him on an absolute high. Team have played their part in that as well, as Scheider does make a move on Martin. Martin tries to come back at him now, and I think Martin's going to be successful here, or is he? Now Scheider does manage to close the door and make that pass. So happiness there with the Phoenix team, as Timo Scheider does move up a further place to P8. Now that he's been released from that Maxime Martin car, is up the road pretty quickly. See if Mike Rockenfeller is going to be able to do the same now. This is how he did it with the DRS assistance. It was going into turn number 1. Maxime Martin was going to close the door and then realized that the door that he was going to close was full of the Timo Scheider Audi, and therefore he couldn't. He tried to fight back through turn number 2, but it wasn't going to happen. So Scheider then is now P8, Maxime Martin is P9, and Mike Rockenfeller fancies moving up another place as well. So Mike Rockenfeller for the same team, Phoenix, can he find his way past the RBM car of Maxime Martin? Ekström then 3.8 seconds ahead of Adrien Tombe. Mike Rockenfeller closing in on the Martin car as we watch them going into turn number 1. We go on board with our race leader, Matthias Ekström. A splitter cam through turn 6 and 7 chicane, and blast to turn number 8, turn in left, and then right for turn number 9 before turn number 10, which is nothing more than a kink really, which is taken absolutely flat. In the meantime, flat is Eduardo Mortara, unfortunately. Not not beyond the realms of possibility. Well, actually, probably it is now with only 3 minutes left that Matthias Ekström might actually reel Mortara in. Mortara running plumb last at P21 and lapping in the 1:39s. Pace deficit he has of 1.3 second in comparison to this man, Matthias Ekström, who's leading the race. And splits the timing beam now. It was 3.8 seconds between himself and Tombe last time around. It's now 4, so it's another couple of tenths that Matthias Ekström has been able to eke out over Adrien Tombe. And Daniel Juncker-Deya is some 10 seconds behind. It's 10 seconds behind Tombe, 14.6 seconds behind the race leader, but in turn is a full 8.9 seconds ahead of Marco Wittmann, who is running in P4 and is going to be untroubled by the hard-charging Antonio Felix da Costa car, which is running in P5, which, of course, Marco Wittmann managed to get past. So here's Mike Rockenfeller then on Maxime Martin. He's not going to be close enough to be able to do it. He just wants to worry the BMW driver ahead, but in fairness, Mike is running out of time to make a move on Maxime Martin, because we've got under 2 minutes plus a lap to run. So needs to get the hurry up, really. Live gap between Martin and Rocky then. And, well, what a sad end to Eduardo Mortara's race. It looks like a retirement, and Mike Rockenfeller for P10 on the left-hand side of your graphics. You can see the name has turned into red, and that is because his DRS usage is done and dusted, and it's a retirement for Eduardo Mortara. From hero to zero compared to yesterday, of course, and not what he wanted to achieve today. However, the fight will still go to Hockenheim. And there, and Jürgen Abt, who's not going to be quite as chipper as he was yesterday. Although, of course, Matthias Ekström is leading the race. Adrien Tombe is P2. And this is our race leader, Matthias Ekström. Each and every turn he has nailed absolutely perfectly. A faultless drive from Matthias Ekström, as it has from Adrien Tombe as well, to be fair. Through the chicane. And Matthias Ekström then. Who has certainly I've been on the podium a couple of times this year. Not on the top step. We'll close out his 2016 campaign with delight at taking the win. So he rounds at turn number 14, and we'll be advised there's one more lap to do.
This is now your last lap. This is your last lap.
Confirmation of that on the team radio then. So 1 minute, 38 seconds and a half away from taking his first win of the year. And it will be the first podium for Adrien Tombe as well. Also be the first podium for Daniel Juncker-Deya, who is untroubled in P3 because Marco Wittmann is 8.3 seconds back from him. So there is our race-leading Audi, Matthias Ekström. Did a very, very good job in qualifying, and then the incidents surrounding the turn 1 on the opening lap meant that he was able to take advantage, although his start was absolutely perfect, whereas Mortara's was not. The second part of Mortara's start was just not happening, and that what caused all the problems right at the start of the race, but been problem-free for Matthias Ekström, who has has but a few turns to do now before he will head towards the checkered flag. It's turn 13 that he goes around now, heads towards turn number 14, climbing uphill. He goes around the right-hander now, and the checkered flag will be unfurled ahead of Matthias Ekström, who will win race 2 at the Hungaroring.
Well done, my friend. Well done. Good job. Really good job. See you on for the last race of the season. Collect pickup. Great job. Well done.
Wolfgang Ulrich there congratulating both Matthias Ekström and Adrian Tombe takes P2. Daniel Juncadea will take P3. Would have never predicted that. And Hans-Jürgen Abt then knows that the fight will go on to Hockenheim, as Marco Wittmann does seal P4 and some very valuable points. Antonio Felix da Costa P5, Tom Blomqvist P6, then it was Timo Glock and Timo Scheider P8, Maxime Martin remaining ahead of Mike Rockefeller, and Tomczyk and Wickens just 2 places from being in the points. So the cars all slowing down now on the lap back to Parc Fermé. And a stunning performance from that young man as well, Adrien Tombe. Well done, P2. Now, when you hear the engineers talk about pickup, it's to make sure that they get plenty of dirt all over the tyres to just make sure they've got plenty of weight. And there to Wolfgang Ulrich then. Will be satisfied with part of the performance as we get confirmation of the result. Matthias Ekström taking the win from Adrien Tombe, Daniel Juncadea P3. Then it was Wittmann, Felix da Costa, Tom Blomqvist, Timo Glock, Timo Scheider, Maxime Martin, Mike Rockefeller rounded out the points-paying positions for top 10. Then it was Tomczyk and Robert Wickens P11 and P12. Ahead of Felix Rosenqvist, Bruno Spengler, Paul di Resta, Christian Vittoris, Lucas Auer, Gary Paffett, Maximilian Goetz and Miguel Molina. We lost Eduardo Mortara, Nico Muller, Augusto Farfus and Jamie Green. Those cars out of the race. And that was the moment that Matthias Ekström sealed the win here at the Hungaroring. So there he goes. And Hans-Jürgen Abt then, I wonder what his reaction will be. Delighted for Matthias Ekström, disappointed for Edo Mortara, I guess, but he's with Verena now.
Hans-Jürgen, very, well, first of all, congratulations, because Eki really aced the race. He did a flawless race, absolutely brilliant, absolutely perfect. However, how disappointing. We spoke to Eduardo Mortara just before the start, and he actually said that he's very nervous. So maybe that's a reason for why he had the start with a wheel spin. And how disappointed are you?
First of all, I'm really happy that Matthias won the race, because I think it was his 22nd victory in the DTM. But also, I'm not happy about the situation with Edo. He was a little bit unlucky in the start, and then also he was unlucky because he fighting for the first corner and he lost the car, but he had a puncture then afterwards. And Marco did it, and it's a shame for the championship, but in the end you can see what can happen in Hockenheim. Also, we have to fight, keep fighting, and we have to be focused what we can achieve. And in the next 2 races, we will see what's going on.
But as we always say in the DTM, anything is possible from here, because Edo is still second in the championship.
Of course, I think we will never give up. We fight for this, and our aim is to achieve a good result in Hockenheim and maybe in the end the title.
Thank you very much, Hans-Jürgen Abt. Back to you, Dave.
Thanks very much, Verena. Yes, the fight is going to go to Hockenheim, and we'll have a look at the championship points. The way they sit now ahead of that Hockenheim weekend. 188 points to Marco Wittmann, 162 points to Eduardo Mortara. Now, bear in mind, 2 races to come at Hockenheim, 50 points up for grabs. An interesting prospect, isn't it? And one that we can't wait for at Hockenheim, and that comes up mid-October. So good to hear from Hans-Jürgen Abt. And here is Marco Wittmann then. How crucial might that P4 place be in terms of banking those points come the end of the season? Well, come mid-October, of course, we will know what the position is and whether that has been utterly crucial. And there is Marco Wittmann. Drivers all have to be weighed ahead of heading up to the podium. And some super slow-mos of the top three for you. Taking P3 and his best result. Daniel Juncadella will be on the podium. So too, with another best result, Adrien Tombe. He will be on the second step when it comes to podium time. But this man certainly did not put 1 foot wrong. All race long, he looked supreme. Matthias Ekström, and sure Hans-Jürgen Abt said it's his 22nd win in DTM. What a record. So there, Adrien Tombe and Matthias Ekström there being congratulated. And there is Daniel Juncadella. So Matthias Ekström then, being advised precisely where to go as he congratulates and is congratulated. Of course, always ready to heap praise upon the team because they play such an important part, particularly in the second race of any given DTM weekend, where the pit stop is absolutely crucial. And they certainly didn't let him down. So well done, Matthias Ekström, achieving exactly what he wanted to by going out of the season on a high. Wolfgang Ulrich there congratulating him as well. The one that we haven't seen there is Dieter Gas, but he won't be far behind. There's Marco Wittmann then. Also offering his congratulations to Matthias Ekström. And they're the two cars. And there is Daniel Juncadella, who'll be going up onto the podium for the first time. And he'll be pretty thrilled about that. I think Uli Fritz at Mercedes-Benz will be thrilled to see that actually Mercedes are able to pull a podium out of the bag this weekend, because certainly the way the pace was being shown, it wasn't necessarily expected. So the guys all there behind the podium, which will be being readied as we speak. Sometimes it's great just to listen in on what is being said. Listening to Daniel Juncadella there. Not quite loud enough for us to be able to hear, sadly. So Marco Wittmann then, in terms of prepping things there. And this just before the start of the race. And this, as the cars got away, Marco Wittmann then to the outside of Eduardo Mortara, who does try and squeeze him out. That, in turn, second contact there puts him into the path of Jamie Green. That did for Jamie Green, unfortunately. And also put Marco Wittmann on the back foot, but he made his way into P4. Jamie Green, sadly, was a very early retirement from the race. So, we're standing by. Verena has got Daniel Juncadella, I believe. Or, no, it's Adrien Tombe. Forgive me. How could I get that wrong?
No problem. And he has to go up on the podium just a second. But how happy are you to be up on the podium?
Very happy. It's been a little bit of a while, but finally I got lucky, and it was quite a straightforward race. Very happy for the guys. Thank you.
Off you go to the podium. So that was a very short interview. Back to you, Dave.
Well, thanks, Verena, nonetheless. So the guys up there on the podium then, Adrien Tombe, and on the top step is Matthias Ekström. And look how delighted Daniel Juncadella is. Now, Last time I commentated on Daniel Juncadella being on the podium, he was on the top step at the Mercedes Stars and Cars event in Stuttgart at the end of last year. National anthem, Matthias Ekström. So Matthias Ekström then enjoying the moment on the top step of the podium. And as I said, I think Hans-Jürgen Abt said it was the 22nd time that he'd been there. Dr. Anita Boros then makes the trophy presentation to Matthias Ekström, who holds that aloft and rounds out his 2016 campaign in the DTM, as he will be missing from Hockenheim. Long while coming, Adrian Tombe said. Well, Javier González Pereira, the representative of the Bosch Group in Hungary, makes the team's trophy presentation. In the meantime, stand by, because here comes the trophy for Adrian Tombe. Hungaroring CEO making that trophy presentation to Adrian Tombe. And this guy will be really, really happy about this. Daniel Juncadella, at last, he'll say, as he receives his trophy. Yeah, there you go. That's how happy he is. So the guys all get together for the photos before the champagne is sprayed up there on the podium. Hans-Jürgen Abt right in the middle of that picture there. And who's going to win the race when it comes to the podium? I think Tombe did, to be fair. And the champagne ceremony, Eki there, fire extinguisher light with eyes closed, just points it anywhere. So Ekström wins, Tombe P2, Juncadella is P3. Discussions going on. And there the race-winning Audi. Performance those cars have had all weekend long. So Daniel Juncadella was very, very happy on the podium, deservedly so. He's with Verena now.
Oh, I bet he's very, very happy. Congratulations. It was a tough, tough race, but a third place on the podium, I bet it feels good.
Well, actually, you know, it was quite an easy race because I didn't have any pressure from behind. So if you look at the race itself, it looked easy. But for me personally, this was a very emotional race because 4 years in DTM, no podium. That's the first one. So I will remember this all my life for sure. It was amazing. First lap from 11th to 3rd. Can't describe it any better, but yeah, happy to deserve this, and the guys deserve it as much as I do.
You guys certainly do. Well, enjoy the moment, enjoy the day, never forget it. And now we're going to try to grab Matthias Ekström, who really did a flawless race. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just have to congratulate you. It's your last race in the DTM season 2016, and you managed it so well and won. You've got to be absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, it's always nice to win a race, but when it's the last race of the year, I think it's even more important. So it's nice to end on a high, and now 3 races of rallycross coming. So it was a great feeling. I had a good car, but it was a very boring race. But still, sometimes it's good that it's boring. I've been entertaining the people maybe too much sometimes this year, and to finish on a high with a boring race is quite nice.
Well, congratulations, and of course, best of luck for hopefully snatching the title in the rallycross.
Yeah, I will do my best, as always.
All right then. Well, thank you so much. Maybe just quickly back to Dave.
Thank you very much, Verena. And yes, we wish Matthias well in his quest for the Rallycross title. As we can see, Marco Wittmann there being congratulated by Jens Marquardt. And I have to say how delighted I was, how humble Daniel Juncadella was up on the podium, saying that both Tombe and Ekström deserved their achievements in the race. Well, certainly that is the case because their laps were absolutely extraordinary. But well done to Daniel Juncadella, as he says, 4 years in DTM, and first podium is something that he's going to remember for a very long time indeed. So there is Marco Wittmann making his way back. And let's cross back down to Verena. Thank you for all your hard work today.
Well, thank you so much, Dave. And well, it might have been a boring race for Matthias Ekström, but quite frankly, I thought it was a really exciting race. And fact is, it's all about the championship now because it is the Hockenheim finale in just a few weeks, and we are excited. So hope to see you there. Till then, bye-bye from Budapest. Bye-bye.